what we're going to do is first oil change on this little bike. I've clocked up now something like 300 mile or 500 k's, so we'll do a bit of a click over and it comes in at 514 kilometres, so yep, 300 mile. So what I'm planning on doing is just a straight out oil change on this one, and when you look at this one it differs a little bit to like the Honda Grom monkey bike or the supercub. I think it may differ from a supercub a bit, I'm just not 100% sure because I've never looked at that. So even on the side case here, you've got your oil filler there, you've also got a dipstick here at the side. Now, seeing it's only done that 300 mile, what I'm planning on doing is I'll just do an oil drop on this one. It takes approximately a litre, but how I'm going to do this one is like I'll do with the Enfield bikes I've got there. What I do is I drain out what's in it and I'll put exactly the same amount of oil back in it since it's only travelled that 300 mile. So it's a pretty simple procedure on this one. We'll have a look underneath. Even though it's got a sump guard on it, it's only got 117mm nut back in under there, bolt. So naturally when you get your spanner onto that one, you'll pull that handle towards the back wheel to release that plug. So that'll be pretty simple. And then just drain the oil, and like I said, I just took it out on about maybe a 10-mile run out along the road and back. I was riding it out there in a little bit of windy conditions. I found that the bike now travels along anytime you're out there around 50 mile an hour, 80 kilometres an hour, very easy. So it's a bike, if you say can it run at 80 or 50 mile an hour, yeah, it'll just do that anytime, all day, every day. So anytime you go out, whether you're in wind or out of wind or anything like that, you can run at 50 and you can push it up to 55 if you want to, and it still doesn't seem to affect it. I think if you're out there and want to push it along a lot quicker, that's where you're going to strike the problems, and that's where you probably think, it's not, doesn't appear you're going to use a lot more throttle and sort of nothing happens. But at this stage, if you're looking around that magic 50, 55 mile an hour, it'll just cruise along on the flats there, no trouble whatsoever. And you know, like my way of thinking, when I'm used to riding bikes, either 900s, 650s or 500s, I'm quite satisfied with the cruising speed of a 125, what it'll do. Because if they can do 50 mile an hour, it actually feels like you're moving. If you're doing it, if it'll only do 40 mile an hour, they really feel slow, and you think to yourself, I really need more power. So I thought I'd do the right thing, do a trip to the Honda dealer, pick up a 4 litre container. In Australia this worked out $50 for 4 litres. Takes roughly 1 litre per hit, so that works out 4 oil changes, $12.50 a oil change. I plan on doing a oil change every 500 kilometres, so I'll do one at 5, 1,000, 1,500 and then 2. Then after that I may swing to full synthetic oil on it, so I'll decide when I get up around that one. But at this stage, seeing this bike doesn't run with a proper class of a disposable oil filter, I figure I'll do an oil drop every 500 k's in the beginning, and then as far as that spinner goes in the side of the casing of this one, I'll pull the side casing now at 1,000 kilometres and give that a clean out, just in case there's a bit involved. And you do that now and it's not really quite required, and that'll save me a bit of work there. So we'll see what happens that line. So guys, you push the handle here to the wrench towards the rear wheel, and that releases the sump plug. So that's a big 17mm. Okay, there she's draining, guys. I'll just release the filler plug to give it a better flow. Let it go. run over a few things while I'm here. First off, that oil looks fairly dark considering 500 kilometres, 300 mile an clock. Now, then I'm not going to go all out and it's just a straight out oil dump, and I'm not going to worry about cleaning the spinner out because, like I said, it'll happen on the 1000 kilometre run, and that shouldn't take all that long to do. Now, you might wondering if I'm going to replace that washer on the thing before I put the plug back in. In actual fact, I won't worry about that. I think I've had all the bikes I've ever had. If you ask me how many times I've ever replaced that washer, I've never replaced it, but just because I don't replace it doesn't mean that you shouldn't. They usually say they recommend you replace the washer, but I don't know. You know, that's your choice. But let's get on to something else. So what I do find, and this is an old Enfield trick I do, is you know, I find that when I do an oil change for the first time, so this oil here, what I'll do, I'll drain that oil into this 3 litre milk container, and then I'll mark it with this texter, roughly go the level of the oil. So once I know how much is in that container, I can just bring up another 3 litre container, or just empty that oil out, put it up against it, then I'll know exactly how much oil to put back into the bike to the level it was prior to doing the drain. So I do that quite regularly on the Enfields, and it's a fairly quick, easy way, and you get it back up. Because the reason I do it on the Enfields, naturally, because they haven't got a dipstick. This bike has got a dipstick on the side to help you, but it's still a handy little bit to know. Now, I have noticed at times a little bit of a rattle when I've been riding this bike along, and when I was here checking this side inspection case, it's quite possible it's coming from this plastic cover. And you can see not a real good fit on there. And that's probably when it's vibrating a bit on dirt roads. What I might do, it's held on by 3 screws. What I may do later on is undo that one and, I don't know, use some sort of double-sided tape or something like that to hold it together, because when you push. But apart from that, no problems there, and we'll get on with the change. You might just pour it in this container, see if there's anything in it. And then while we're at it, we might just check and see what the container's like, see if there's any rubbish in that. We'll have a look in the container. Let's go out in direct sun. Maybe a little bit of flicker there. Odd trace of metal there, or could be a trace, just a real minor looking thing, just hard to say. Bit of gasket piece there. Oh yeah, there's a bit of flicker up along here now, just up in this corner. But really nothing large or anything like that. Overall it's pretty clean, so you know, as far as touching that spinner at the moment, that would probably be a job that you wouldn't bother doing, because it'd be just a bit of work in it for nothing. So it looks all good here. Just a quick look at the container now. You'll notice now I've marked the level of the oil. So if we go back this way, you see I've marked her on the side. All I have to do now is dispose of that oil at the waste disposal depot, and I can either just clean this container there, just give it a bit of a flush, and then just put the new oil up to that level, or just bring out another 3 litre container, mark it at the same level and go from there. So I've got the fresh oil, got her up to the level, we're ready to pour it down the throat. Naturally I've got the sump plug in. And when you're doing this bike, it really doesn't take much oil to fill this one up. So that's a good idea. Just put in what you took out, and you can always do the check on it later on. I've completed the oil change, run the bike for a couple of minutes. So you've got a little dipstick here at the side. Just undo that. Now, according to the Honda instructions, all they say with this particular stick is you just push it straight into the slot and seat it. The oil appears to be going there, up to about that level there where my fingernail is. The safe spot is between, in that area there. That is a recommended level. So it appears all good. So once again, when you pull it out, you want to check your oil level. Straight in, seat it, and they say don't screw it in. So just seat it, check it. You can see the oil's up around it out there. I could possibly put just a shade more in, but I won't. That'll be good enough, because it's only going to run 500 kilometres again, and then I'm going to pull it. So it's a fair bit to screw it in. Now the other thing I could say is this is a very simple bike to do an oil change on, so I really think you should be just buying the oil, get out there, drop it, seeing it only runs something like under a litre, and you should be doing really regular oil changes on this one just to protect the motor and stop picking rubbish up in it. And in my case, I'm going to run it at this stage every 500 kilometres and do the oil change, and I think it'd be good insurance. But anyway, that choice is yours when you get the bike, and after all, they're not sort of giving these bikes away, they're charging you a bit for it, so you might as well look after them. Just a quick follow-up. I'm back from a ride, roughly 40 kilometres, so we'll just have a look at the odometer. And we're now sitting at 5:57. So after I did the oil change, I went out and rode at say 40 kilometres, and I rode under different conditions, so I'll give you an idea now. This is the first time I've had it out on the road and riding along at normal speed. So I was able to run along at 85 kilometres an hour. And on one section of road out there I ran it up to 90, and I found that the bike travelled along at that speed, no trouble whatsoever, but it's really comfortable around that 80-85 mark. So saying that, I think it's loosening up quite well in that area, and I think it's a little bit different bike to ride down compared to when I first got on it from 0 kilometres. Now the other thing it is, I head down on a sort of a back road, and there's a bit of a hill there, and I just was wondering if I dropped it back in the first gear, how fast I could travel along in first gear going up a hill. So when I tried that on one particular hill, I was able to cruise along in first gear down to a speed of 10 kilometres an hour, which I thought was fairly slow, and at that stage you're near the stage where you're fighting to keep balance and move along, but the bike itself ran along well right at 10 k's, so that's 10 kilometres converted to mile per hour, which is 6 miles an hour. So after I'd done that one, I headed back down onto the flat area of that road and decided, oh well, I might give it a bit of a burst in third gear and see what it'll pull in third gear. So in third gear I was able to pull it up to 80 kilometres an hour, or 50 miles an hour, and that'll give you an idea what you'll get out of third. Probably would have went a bit faster. I never hit the rev limit or anything like that, but it will do 80 k's in third. Now I did find in all those first 3 gears, especially second and third, this bike has really got good acceleration for what it is for a 125cc 8 horsepower bike. So that's the report up to date, looking at it at 500 kilometres on the oil change. So overall it's a pretty satisfactory report as far as performance and what it is for the bike in question, 8 horsepower. You know, a little go anywhere workhorse, so at this stage very happy with that side of the bike, and I'll sort of battle on, keep it running. If anything comes up what I want to talk about, you know, I'll just put it up, and like I said, I've got a few more reviews coming up, so all good in that line, and all the best. So once again, thanks for calling in, taking a look. If you'd like to subscribe, please do. I'll catch up with you on a later clip, and I'm going to have to get back and do part 2 of that Nangar one next. So, and the fuel tank, the fuel container at the back, we're going to go in and have a look at that one too. So we might even do the fuel container and then swing over to Nangar and carry on regardless. So once again, catch you later, and cheers for now.